Ave Legion and welcome to my channel. My name is Ludi and today we'll be doing our EU4 1.30 starting moves guide for the Aztecs. In this guide we'll be going over the estates and economy, diplomacy and war preparations, the religion and how to reform the religion, wars for reforming the religion, as well as your later expansion and the ideas that you should go for. Before we start the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like, commented and subscribed, as well as left the bell button on. If we can get this video to 1,000 likes, then I am going to do a giveaway for an EU4 DLC or the base game if you don't have it. Some of the achievements available for the Aztecs include the Sunset Invasion, where you need to own and have cores on Lisbon, Madrid, Paris, London, Amsterdam and Rome as the Aztecs, and on the Edge of Madness, where as the Aztecs you need to reach 95 Doom, then go 20 years without reaching 100 Doom. When discussing the estates, the first thing you want to do is summon the Diet and go for whichever agenda best suits you, followed up by seizure of land. Make sure you summon the Diet first, as you only start off with 49% of loyalty for your estates, so if you seize land before that, then you're gonna get a rebellion in your country, and we really don't want that to happen. For the Tete Kuchtin, you're gonna give the right of council and the supremacy over the crown. For the Tlamakatske, we're gonna give the oversight by the Tlamakatske, and for the Merchants Guild, we're just gonna be giving the free enterprises. We actually start off with 4 gold mines in our country and another 2 right next to us and another few other ones around. Altogether you have 11 gold mines in the Mexican region at the very start, but do not get too excited because you are a primitive nation, so you're not actually getting the full amount of gold from these gold mines. You will however be getting that after you've reformed, and as the Aztecs we can reform much faster than the Incans, and we don't even need to have a European nation around us to reform. Also take note that your heir is absolute trash, but you don't want to kill him off right now, otherwise you're going to get minus 50 prestige, and that is pretty bad since we want to actually win these battles around us. I recommend killing him off right after you've taken your first 2 or 3 vassals, as your king is still quite young at 22 and he can produce a lot more heirs as he go along. If you can get a discipline or a morale of armies advisor, then I recommend that you go for that, as that's going to boost your army considerably. When it comes to the rivals that you should go for, I highly recommend that you always go for Tlaxcala as well as Tlapanec and Teotitlan. The reason we're going for these nations is simply because we are actually going to be using these nations to farm mana points. At the same time, we are actually going to vassalize a few of them. So we're going to be vassalizing the smaller 2 province or 3 provinces nations such as Tlaxcala as well as Teotitlan, Coixtlahuaca, Otomi and Huastec. But we're also going to get Tlapanec as a rival simply because we are going to be farming mana points by getting the Show of Strength peace deal offer. You also start off with 2 merchants and you should send one to collect trade from the Mexico trade node. You could also send another one to transfer trade from the Mississippi trade node, but do make sure you need to have the trade range, so you're probably going to do this after you've expanded a bit into the north. When choosing what allies to go for, I highly recommend that you go for allies that are quite far away from you, such as Xalico as well as some of the Mayan nations here. I highly recommend Yucatan or even Zapotec. You might not be able to get both of them, so you're going to have to choose one or the other because most of the times they do rival each other, and you definitely will have to improve relations with them in order to get them as an ally. But do remember, you have to improve relations continuously with most of your neighbors, otherwise you're going to end up in coalitions, since you're going to be going for a lot of vassalization wars continuously to reform your religion. The Aztecs are a Nahuatl religion nation, and Nahuatl gives you plus 10 morale of armies, national unrest minus 2, local missionary strength plus 2%, and merchants guild influence minus 5%. Now Nahuatl is a religion that you need to reform in similar fashion to the Inti religion, but we have different mechanics. We have the Doom mechanic, which once you have 100% Doom, you will have no choice but to sacrifice one of your ruling family members, as such casting our nation into chaos. Basically, you don't want to reach 100% Doom. The reforms that you have available for the Nahuatl religion include bonuses such as monthly war exhaustion minus 0.05, Diplo rep, discipline plus 5, 1 colonist, and minus 20 stability cost modifier. Now, in order to reform, every single time you need to have 1 stability minimum, Doom below 50, 5 vassals, no rebels, and you have to be at peace. This is actually surprisingly easy to do, the hardest obviously being the fact they need to have 5 vassals, vassals, but having 5 vassals is easier than you would imagine, simply because you are surrounded by very small nations and you can quickly gobble them up. Now the Aztecs actually can reform without the Europeans, so in order to reform we need to have all of our religious reforms done, and all of these 5 basically, and we need to have a neighbor which embraced at least one institution and they need to border us. Now we actually have an animist nation here, well 2 of them, and animist for some reason can actually adopt institutions. So what we're gonna do eventually is we're gonna be attacking one of these 2 nations here, and we're gonna get 100% war score and force them to force us to adopt animist. Once we have the animist religion as our state religion, we can embrace feudalism and colonialism if it's spawned by deving up our provinces like crazy and wasting all of our mana points, and then we can switch back to Nahuatl by taking over the city of Cholula, which is the holy city of Nahuatl. So basically if you get Cholula as a non-Nahuatl nation from here, then you get a chance through an event to change your religion to Nahuatl, and that's what we're gonna do basically. If you are Nahuatl and you get this province, also you get +1 missionaries and prestige and tolerance of the true faith, so it is a really good city to have. Once we've embraced the new institutions and we change to Nahuatl after we've embraced them, we can release one of these nations as our vassal, and we can make sure that they adopt an institution, and because they've adopted an institution that we have, that means we border a nation that has some institution adopted, and as such we can reform our religion. If that is too complicated, then just watch this video and you'll see exactly what I'm doing. Follow my steps. So obviously the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna be recruiting the Free Company, and we're gonna be bringing our troops right over here so that we can get ready to attack Tlaxcala. Your starting ruler is actually a super good general. I would recommend, however, to just recruit a regular general in case you have one with the siege pip, and also because you don't want him to die off, because if he does die off, then you're gonna have a horrible new leader with 023. Get your build to force limit mission done. On the 1st of December we can get 1 stability, and after we've gotten our 1 stability, you can go for the Rite of Passage or Vision Quest, as well as the Divination modifiers, both of which are really good and we do need, but you want to get the stability at a cheaper cost before you get them. I recommend that you start improving relations with the various nations in this area, and on the 11th of December you should attack Tlaxcala. You do have the Flower Wars CB, which is basically a specific CB for the Aztec nations in this area that basically gives you enforced vassalage for 100 aggressive expansion, 200 prestige, and 50% cost. So it is a really good CB and we definitely want to go for it. You can co-belligerate their nations here, but only if they don't have any strong allies or a lot of allies. So in my case, I'm not going to co-belligerate these people here, otherwise I'm going to bring in half of the peninsula against me. If you do get offers such as this where one of your neighbors requires a bit of cash in order to give you some condottieri, I recommend that you actually go for it. You do need a bit of help at the very start, and it's not really that expensive for 1 ducat a month. After you've wiped out the other enemy army, go ahead and just carpet siege everything that you need to carpet siege. Whenever you get the Sumptuary Laws event, go ahead and implement the laws. This is going to give you 2 army professionalism, and until the end of the game, plus 2.5 discipline and minus 0.05 war exhaustion, and it only costs 100 admin points. Same thing for the Great Pyramids of Tenochtitlan. Go for the 75 admin and diplo penalty thing, as the other one is temporary. So if you go for that, you're gonna get rebels, and you're also not gonna get those bonuses until the end like it says. You might be inclined to make them a vassal, but if they are not a co-belligerated nation, do not do that, as it's too much aggressive expansion. Instead, go for some gold and cancel as many of their rivals as you can cancel, which is gonna give you a lot of prestige. Go ahead and cancel any useful alliance they might have also, so that they can even get attacked by their neighbors. When it comes to Tlaxcala, we want to take the city of Tlaxcala for ourselves, and we're going to make the other 2 provinces here as integral parts of our first Tlaxcala vassal. Now the reason we take the city of Tlaxcala is because it is a fort city, and it is a lot easier for us to manage them if they don't have their fort city here. Remember that we will be taking Cholula whenever we want to switch back over to Nahuatl. Next up on our Flower War roster is the nation of Otomi. One of their allies, Colima, does not have any other allies, so we will be co-belligerating besieging them, and we are going to be attacking. Once you finish sieging down everything, peace out their allies first, and make sure that you go for the options that give you a lot of prestige. However, if you have a chance, such as the nation of Teotihuacan here doesn't cost too much to vassalize, I recommend going for the vassalization. And if you're lucky enough, that's even going to get you into a few wars against some nations that you can get some more benefits from. When it comes to the nation of Atomi itself, you should take the province of Metzitlan simply because it borders 3 other nations, Huastec, Chichimeca, and Guamar, and you can attack all 3 nations simply because you've taken this one province here. You don't want to take more than one province, as that means you're not going to be able to enforce the religion on yourself once you go to war with Chichimeca. Remember to make them a vassal as well and cancel some of their rivals in order to get some more prestige. 1449, we already have 3 vassals. We just need a couple more vassals until we can get our first reform. Since we are called into a defensive war here, we can also call in our allies to help us out, and we can even let them do all the dirty work for us. After 1 month, you should be able to get the new CB on your new neighbors here for the Flower War, and I recommend attacking Huastec as they are very small and easy to take out. Once you've got at least 2 vassals, remember to also go for the Strong Duchies privilege, which is going to help you out with their Liberty Desire and Diplomatic Relation slots. Peace out Huastec, make them your vassal, and because they are not a Nahuatl religion nation, you can also force religion upon them. Also cancel their rivals to get some more prestige out of it. Once you get 100% war score with the animist nation of your choice, go ahead and offer them tribute, your religious conversion. So this is going to convert you to animist. Make sure you did not do any reforms before this, as we want to do our reforms when we go back to Nahuatl, not now. Right now, what we can do is embrace feudalism or renaissance as well whenever it spawns. In my case, it has not spawned yet. Choose whichever province costs less to dev up. Remember to set the encourage development edict, which is going to give you minus 10% development cost. And for the next few years, all you need to do is basically just boost this up and develop it until the renaissance as well as feudalism spawn into this province. If you need to, make sure that you farm mana points from your rivals. So when you attack a rival, instead of humiliate, you can go for the show of strength, which is basically going to give you 100 of each mana points. Do remember to also improve relations with your vassals and try and get them as loyal as you can get them. Considering that now you are getting a lot more money from gold, you should be able to get some decent advisors. I managed to get +2 and +3 advisors. You could get all +3 advisors and you can get into a few loans in the long run. It is up to you, but definitely use the advisors since you're getting the gold when you convert to animist. An inflation reduction guy would be perfect if you manage to get your hands on one, but it is not guaranteed that you're gonna actually get one. You should be able to embrace feudalism, and if they spawned in renaissance, I recommend spawning this in as well before you switch back to Nahuatl. When spawning in colonialism, you can either spawn it in Tlaxcala, or I also recommend Teloloapan since it is a gold province, and if you dev up the production part here, it's going to give you insanely high amounts of gold. Do remember to have the encourage development edict set beforehand and start deving up whenever you got the admin points for it and whatever other points you need for it. Once you've spawned in colonialism as well, it is time to switch back to Nahuatl, take a few loans if you need to, and embrace colonialism. By this time, you should also be able to integrate Tlaxcala within your nation as it was your first vassal. Alternatively, you don't need to integrate them. You can just seize land from them and just take the province of Cholula. I prefer to integrate them as they are Aztec lands, and it is easier just having the 5 vassals from the northern nations here. You're gonna get an event once you do take the Temple of Cholula, either destroy it or convert to Nahuatl. Go ahead and convert to Nahuatl. Now, you will be getting doom according to the size of your nation, so if you did expand whilst you were animist, you're gonna get a bit more doom than you'd like to. I prefer to take the coastline here as well as the one here for future expansion. And now, in order to do our first reform, we can just release some of these provinces that we took whilst we were animist, such as Tlapanec here. And after we release some of the nations that we fully annexed whilst we were animist, we can get our first reform done. It is up to you which one you go for. I recommend going for the colonist first, and all of your vassals will become independent and you have to start from scratch again. So it's time to get back to work and get all your vassals back to reform the religion once more. Once you have a couple of vassals, you can also release some of the nations that you took when you were animist in order to get the other vassals that you need faster. So a good example of this is releasing Totonac, which is the coastline of the Aztec lands here, and that gives me the second reform here, and once again we have to start all over again and get all our vassals back. Sometime around the 1470s, it can be faster or slower depending on your progress, and the game is super RNG, so you have to keep that into account. You should have about all of your reforms done. I'm missing just one here, and I'm gonna do it as soon as I release my last annexed nation, which is gonna be Chichimeca. Now, I actually waited before releasing Chichimeca simply because I wanted them to have both feudalism and Renaissance adopted. You just need them to have one of these adopted, not both. But because I spawned both of them early on, they managed to get both of them adopted. So that means that we can go ahead and reform our religion for the last time here, lose all our subjects once more, but we can reform our religion simply because our previous vassal Chichimeca here is a nation that has both of those institutions adopted. It is not going to give us any technologies as they are not ahead of tech compared to us, but it also means that we are going to be around the same level as the Europeans now. We obviously are definitely behind in tech, but now it's not going to cost us insanely high amount of points to tech up, and as such it's going to be easier to catch up with the Europeans. Go ahead and get your first government reform as well, and now we don't need to worry about doom anymore, and we get to keep all of our awesome bonuses from here, which include colonist, stability cost, relation slots, +5 discipline, and -0.05 war exhaustion. It also means that we can start aggressively expanding and eating up all of the Mexican lands before the Europeans arrive. When discussing the ideas that you should go for first, it really depends whether you have a lot of admin, diplo, or military points available. As a first military idea, I recommend going for quality ideas, as you will need the extra edge when fighting the Europeans, and quality also mixed in with exploration gives you land attrition -25% and manpower recovery speed +10%, which is super good, and when mixed in with expansion gives land leader fire +1. If you have a lot of diplo points lying around, then you should go for exploration ideas, as it gives you the ability to start exploring your surroundings, as well as gives one more colonist and global settler increase +10. The best one you should always go for at the start, if you have a lot of admin points around, is expansion ideas, as it gives you 2 colonists, diplo relations, +20 global settler increase, as well as a merchant, and minimum autonomy and territories -10%. Now, the reason you should go for these 3 at the start is simply because you want to colonize before the Europeans start colonizing everything around you, and quality mixes in well with those 2 other ideas. Offensive also mixes in well with exploration as an expansion. It can give +5 settler chance and automatically discover adjacent provinces when a colony is being built if you mix it with expansion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as well as leave the bell button on to get notified whenever I release a new guide. I also want to give a super big shout out to all of my patrons. Thank you so much guys for all the support, and if anybody else wants to become a patron, then you can check the link in the description. So until the next one, have a great day everyone.